Here we go, part 6.
Why? Not least because psychologically healthy persons are flexible, adapting themselves to the specific demands of the current environment, despite their trait proclivities.
Let's think about the difference between being flexible and adapting to an environment. I work with low-income people. I work with people who struggle with addiction. The mental gymnastics and flexibility with which they can justify literally anything is part of what you're trying to mitigate through structured therapeutic intervention. So if you're going to belabor the idea of adaptability or flexibility in and of themselves as something positive to Trump, it's to pretend, and you would think that Jordan has observed this in his practice, that merely being able to contort yourself into a form that sounds and looks and feels good to you or the people around you that will enable you and be unable to see through what you're doing is a good thing. I doesn't follow.
Even extroverts are likely to be quiet, at least when they have been well socialized at a funeral. In fact, there is often something seriously wrong with those who lack such situational flexibility, although strength of character with regard to honesty constitutes a marked exception. The psychopathologies known as personality disorders, which constitute a very serious source of suffering and social conflict, are in fact precisely what emerge when someone is too rigid to change with the social demands of the moment. This all means that it is most useful to gather evidence about how someone has acted in the past in a given situation, if the goal is prediction of their behavior when placed in that situation once again in the future. We have that evidence already at hand in the case of Trump. This means that we don't have to rely on our observations of his personality for predicting his behavior, even if they are well-founded.
Okay, so here, Jordan wants to pretend like the things that we already know about Trump summarily dismiss why we should be concerned about him in the future. That's the big presumptive arc that all of this analysis of personality types and traits is driving towards. So you can just accept that that is a reasonable thing to do or not on its head. Then, if you want to pick any given thing that Trump has done, bragged about grabbing pussies, raped people, made comments about fucking Ivanka, whatever you want, and take Jordan's argument as just sound, then we can say, oh, okay, great. We're going to have this sexual assailant, pervert, incestual monster. And that's what we want. We can affirm the shitty things that he's said or done just as earnestly as we can pretend that anything you want to draw that's been positive, which I haven't necessarily heard the case for, I've just heard that he's mitigated. It goes both ways.
Compelling or even professional. The man has already been president, and for 4 years. What did we learn? First and foremost, the time during Trump's tenure was peaceful, particularly on the international front. The importance of that non-problem, really an accomplishment, can hardly be overstated. War in the nuclear age is infinitely dangerous. Had Trump been the dictator in waiting his foes so loudly and fearfully presume him to be, wouldn't some evidence of that have made itself manifest?
So, if you don't, Sam Harris makes this point, if you don't have a proclivity to respect evidence, then there can be mountains of it on display every day in what he says, what he does, who he buddies up with, the people like Jordan who pile on to defend him, and none of it will get through. Evidence isn't really a thing for you. You're a rhetorician, or whatever the word is. Your evidence is what is emotionally compelling, not what is real, not what conflicts with your presumptions and what matches your face. So so yeah, there's evidence. There's evidence every day. Like denying you lost the election. It's just one of the more obvious consistent ones that you don't care about. And so if you don't care about that, and if you're unwilling to talk in reality laden terms where evidence exists, then you don't get to invoke the concept of evidence unless you're doing fascist apologetics and you can pretend it doesn't exist.
Say, on the battlefield, that
Oh, and then here's also where we go into that false comparison thing, where we're going to give Trump credit for the war being peaceful according to Jordan, and we're gonna hold up the atrocity of war and the danger of nuclear weapons as counter evidence of how amazing Trump is. Like, you see how weird that gets like fit in there? It's not an argument for Trump to belabor how dangerous the world is, but that's what it feels like when you need to make him sound awesome.
typical narcissist, particularly the more malignant, sadistic, Machiavellian types, have absolutely no qualms about sacrificing others to their imperial ambitions. Indeed, they may well regard it as a great honor for others to die in service of their own glorification. Trump, by marked contrast, embroiled the US, the most powerful military force the world has ever seen, in precisely 0 wars. 0 is a very low number.
It's also not a number that he wanted to fucking hold, but again, you don't care about the environment he was plugged into or the actual people who exerted their mitigating self-restraint and capacity and power. You want to give all the power to Trump.
Furthermore, he negotiated the Abraham Accords, the 9 miraculous peace agreements that have built around Israel a cohort of, if not exactly Arab allies, at least not outright enemies. In a just world, Trump and his previous team of diplomats should have been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for this accomplishment, which was deemed impossible by the experts decade after decade of the State Department. It is of significant note, too, that these accords have held even after the events of October 7th, 2023, and all the work that has been done, mostly by the truly pathological actors of the Islamic Republic, to set the Muslim and indeed the broader world yet again against the Jews.
I just did a little chat GPT of some of the benefits and drawbacks of the Abraham Accords. Some of the drawbacks got some criticism from Palestinians about sidestepping Palestinian sovereignty issues, but I mean, we're not getting into Israel-Palestine and all the history there. Limited impact on Israel-Palestinian relations or comprehensive peace, which obviously still ongoing, and potential for increased regional arms races due to defense partnerships. So, as with everything, pros and cons. It's not clear to me that no other presidents or no other situation could achieve something similar. It's also not lost on me that Donald Trump obliterated the Iran nuclear deal. So, doesn't exist in isolation as just some unique or privileged positive inroad into the Middle East, as though he hasn't done other things out there that were less than good as well.
Let us reiterate in relation to our analysis. We understand his personality, arguably, and may even have some remaining qualms about it. However, Donald and his tenure was marked.
Oh, I messed up.
We understand his personality, arguably, and may even have some remaining qualms about it.
Now, Peterson feels as though he understands Trump's personality from his armchair, from his extreme bias to make him more palatable, but with the phrasing, now we all get it, and then with our limited reservations, we can thus proceed. Obscene.
However, Donald J. Trump has already been president, and his tenure was marked by an absolute lack of cataclysmic occurrences.
Again, and I feel like there's been like a bait and switch thing kind of too, because Jordan said something to the effect earlier about the absence of something uh is hard to clock or something, but now he wants to take the absence of something as a forward push positive. I'd have to go in and dig through that one a little bit more explicitly, but it feels like he's trying to have it both ways. That it's like, by a lack of evidence, things are therefore not that serious, but also through this lack of evidence, it indicates all of this crazy positivity or something. I don't know. That's like the loose impression I'm getting.